It's a shame what happened in South Carolina. Some white guy go out and shoot up a black church. And it's just bad for the country. When this first happened, I thought right away, oh my God, not again. A lot of people are hurt by this. Some people are feeling sad. Some are angry about it. And that's what I'm concerned about. Yes, I feel badly for those who lost their loved ones and those who died, but my thing is that it is time for the country to come together. A lot of black folks who already think that white people are against them are now going to believe the lie that this was about racism.
Was Dylan ignorant? Was he racist?
No. Like, everybody's making him out to be racist, but here I am in front of you today as a black man and telling you I look at him no different today than what I looked at him last week. Because he never said anything racist to me, never treated me any different than he treated Justin.
In fact, most of the family members who talked to the judge during Roof's brief bond hearing said they could forgive him.
I forgive you and my family forgive you. But we would like you to take this opportunity to repent. Repent. Confess. Give your life to the one who matters the most, Christ.
We don't have all the facts, but we do know that, once again, innocent people were killed in part because someone who wanted to inflict harm had no trouble getting their hands on a gun.
I would mention one other thing very quickly, and that is I would urge pastors and men in these churches to prepare to defend themselves. It's sad, but I think that we've got to arm ourselves, at least have some people in the church who are prepared to defend the church when women and children are attacked.
You know, I find this shooting not only barbaric and heartbreaking, but a continuation of the ongoing division and strife being sown by so many in the political sphere. Hello, you're listening to The Resistance. This is Forrest Wilson. For all in the political class that divide us along race, class, and gender lines, I believe you have blood on your hands. Your words are the inspiration for the racist, the wealth biased, the gender biased amongst us. Your words are the inspiration for the sick-minded, like this depraved individual attacked worshipers at the historic Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church near the heart of Charleston's tourist district in Charleston, South Carolina. 9 dead, just 3 survived. 6 women and 3 men. You know, a 5-year-old girl, one of the survivors, did so by playing dead. One woman who survived was told by the shooter, "I'm not going to shoot you because I want you to tell them what happened," according to a relative. Dylan Storm Roof turned 21 in April and bought a gun with the money he got for his birthday. Was he inspired in some way by the vitriol surrounding the complex issue of white police officers and altercations with black suspects? Was this an attack on Christians? Was Roof a racist who just wanted to kill blacks in a place where he knew there was a high probability no one would be armed? Is there a race war boiling below the surface? And these are just the beginnings of what is to come. I want to get to these and other elements of this unspeakable mass killing with several pastors today in a few moments. But did you know that sometime between now and June 25th, we're going to have a decision in the King versus Burwell case being deliberated by the Supreme Court? And this case centers around 4 little words in the Affordable Care Act legislation. You know, the one passed by Democrats, many of whom admitted not to reading the bill before voting on it. The four words that threaten to unwind the ACA say the subsidies shall be available to persons who purchase health insurance in an exchange established by the state. Established by the state. Those are the 4 words that they're deliberating. And there's just 34 problems with those 4 words in that statement, in that legislation of the Affordable Care Act. The 34 problems are 34 states have chosen not to establish these state exchanges. I was bouncing around the internet, and I happened to find an article written by George Will, an opinion piece, back in January of 2014 in the Washington Post, and it says, so the IRS, which is charged with enforcing the ACA, has ridden to the rescue of Barack Obama's pride and joy, taking time off from writing regulations to restrict the political speech of Obama's critics. The IRS has said with its breezy indifference to legality that subsidies shall be dispensed to those who purchase insurance through federal exchanges the government has established in those 34 states. In other words, the IRS is going to allow this to go forth even though those 34 states did not comply with the law by having set up these exchanges. Hence the challenge to the law in the case King versus Burwell. George Will continues, the IRS and its interpretation, it actually is a revision of the law, is consistent with and justified by the structure of the ACA. The IRS means that without its rule, the ACA would be unworkable and that Congress could not have meant to allow this. The ACA's legislative history, however, demonstrates that Congress clearly, and one might say with malice aforethought, wanted subsidies available only through the state exchanges. In other words, what Will's saying is Congress intended to have states set up these exchanges through an intimidation factor, that if you didn't set them up, then obviously your constituents and those within your state would be upset. So an agency of the federal government has chosen not to follow the law, in this case, the IRS. Surprise, surprise. Inspiration for the lawless? You know, words and actions matter, especially for those charged with upholding the rule of law. If the plaintiffs in King versus Burwell lose, in other words, if the Supreme Court sides with the government and allows the IRS to, in effect, rewrite law, it may inspire and give other federal agencies the power to rewrite laws enacted by Congress, subverting we the people. It will be time for the people to challenge the government and stand up for the rule of law, and if required, go to torches and pitchforks. This could literally go down next week. But regardless of the way the Supremes rule, did you know there's an alternative to the ACA? In that legislation, they allowed healthcare ministries. There are 3 of them. I want to tell you about one. It's MediShare. MediShare is administered by Christians, not bureaucrats. MediShare, a program of Christian care ministry, is a healthcare sharing program whose members share financial resources to pay each other's medical expenses. You know, I'm promoting this simply because this is an alternative to the ACA. If the Supremes rule in favor of the government, we've still got this. This is one way for you to resist. And oh, by the way, they're not going to stick you in the government database. You don't have to go through the healthcare.gov website. You know, their phone number. This is such a disgusting example of the subliminal advertising by the federal government, the poke in the eye of you, the people, showing you how they can impose things on you against your will. The telephone number for healthcare.gov, if you need help, 800-318-2596. Translate those numbers to alpha characters, and you know what you get? That's right, you get 1-800-F, the number 1, UCKYO. Now, if that's not subliminal, I don't know what is. Do you think it was intentional? A subliminal message to America from the administration and the Democrats who impose this on all Americans. If you're tired of this crap, go to mychristiancare.org, mychristiancare.org, or just call 800-772-5623, 1-800-772-5623. Tell them Forrest Wilson sent you. You know, I'm on a crusade to show the people an option to government-run health care. This is the first leg in their stool of socialism. And I believe in this ministry and have decided to promote the freedom from oppression this program offers. Go to mychristiancare.org to find out all about it, 800-772-5623. I want to get back to the attack on the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church and get reaction from a friend of the show, Dr. Gene A. Youngblood, when we return, a biblical scholar and renowned professor, an ardent supporter of the Second Amendment. You'll want to hear what he has to say. This is Forrest Wilson, and you're listening to The Resistance. If you want to chime in, 904-222-TALK, 904-8255. You're listening to AM 600, FM 100.3, WBOB, The Answer. I'll be right back.
Let's return to We the People with Forrest Wilson. Once again, here is Forrest.
I would mention one other thing very quickly, and that is I would urge pastors and men in these churches to prepare to defend themselves. It's sad, but I think that we've got to arm ourselves, at least have some people in the church who are prepared to defend the church when women and children are attacked.
That was Pastor E.W. Jackson on Fox News. I believe it was yesterday. I want to get reaction from Dr. Gene A. Youngblood, a biblical scholar and renowned professor. Dr. Youngblood, welcome back to The Resistance. What's your reaction to E.W. Jackson on Fox News?
I'm in wholehearted agreement with him. In fact, beyond just my agreement, I believe it's the general consensus of many pastors across America. In fact, Mike Huckabee just made mention this morning on Fox News, Fox and Friends, almost the same thing that this pastor had just stated. Dr. Jeffers of First Baptist Church of Dallas just yesterday or last night on Fox News being interviewed made mention that they have a security team all armed in their church. First Baptist here in Jacksonville has an armed security team. And I have said for years, based on what we've seen in the empirical evidence, the history in America in the past 12, 13 years, with this being an ongoing event of attacking churches.
Is it an attack on Christians? I mean, is that what you think it is? And why has it taken so long for the clergy to stand up and say, hey, it's time to arm up?
I think that it's been a reticence on the part of most Christians to think that you have to take that position inside a house of God. The general philosophy with most Christians and most pastors, and it has a modicum of truth to it and an element of biblical fact without any equivocation, that we need to love people, we need to have an open door for people to come and minister and to worship and to serve the Lord and to learn the Word, to know the Word, to hear the Word, to be under the Word, but we need to be very careful. In fact, my mind goes to the book of Nehemiah. When they were building the wall around Jerusalem, the enemies continually attacked. And the Scripture says that they armed themselves and they continued to watch while they were working. That's an important factor when it comes to the doctrine of self-defense. Self-defense does not stop at the church house door. We must be very, very aware that we live in a totally different world. 20, 30 years ago, churches could leave their doors unlocked. 50, 60 years ago, family members, homes, homeowners could leave their doors unlocked 24/7 and not really worry about an intruder or danger or someone coming in to kill you. That's not the case today. We live in an evil, wicked world, a world where the morals and ethics and values have so declined, and so many have hardened hearts before God with anything that's spiritual, moral, and ethical, that they have no qualms about taking someone's life, just as this shooter in Charleston. And by the way, we need to be praying for those families that lost loved ones. I am so thankful to see the response of the family members in general in Charleston saying that we forgive the shooter. That is a biblical absolute. However, that does not truncate, nor does it in any way circumvent or stop the fact that we need to do something to watch as we work in serving the Lord. I believe church doors need to be closed. I believe that when a church service starts, security team needs to lock the doors to make sure that an intruder cannot just walk in and shoot everybody. In fact, you can go back to the record since 1999. where we've had intruders come into the churches. Westwood Baptist Church in 1999, 7 people were killed when an armed gunman walked in and opened fire on the congregation. 2003, a woman opened fire in the AME Church in Atlanta, killing the pastor and 2 others. 2005, a gunman walked into the service of the Living Church of God in Milwaukee, opened fire, killing 7 people. And I could go on and on and on. This is not something that's new. It's not something that just started happening yesterday. We've been seeing this intensify for the past 20 years. And as a result of that, I say to every church, every pastor, and every congregant, that is, those that go to the church, that are members of the church, Christians, if they have a permit to carry, they ought to be allowed to carry and be aware that the enemy could come in and tear down and destroy. Now, getting to the fundamental question, is this an attack on Christians? Yes and no. What you found in Charleston was an attack based on ethnicity, with an individual that had his hands on a weapon and made the decision that I'm going to go in and basically carry out an evil deed, an evil task, because of evil wickedness in the heart. But multitudes of these, the one, for example, in Westwood Baptist Church out in Texas, the gunman, when walking in Wednesday night service, he said, "How many of you are Christians?" Everybody cowered and fearful to stand and identify themselves as Christians. One 13, 14, 15-year-old teenager stood and said, "I am." He said, "Well, I'm going to let you go. You're willing to acknowledge that you're a Christian. These others do not have backbone enough to acknowledge that." And he started shooting. So we have the wickedness that says, I hate God, and I hate God's messenger. I hate the symbol of God, the cross, and the church, and therefore I'm going to tear down and destroy all that I can because it's Christian. We find that being promulgated across the nation today and around the globe, and it's not new, and it's not something that's just in America. It's around the globe where there's an evil, wicked vileness. In fact, going back to the issue of being armed and protecting, George Washington said, and I quote, "Firearms stand next in importance to the Constitution itself. They are the American people's liberty and teeth and keystone under independence." Thomas Jefferson said the constitutions of the most of our states assert that all power is inherent in the people, that is, their right and duty to be at all times armed. Now, we've gotten so far away from our founding documents and our founding fathers and our Bill of Rights that most think, if you're saved, if you're Christian, if you're church, you should surrender your right to keep and bear arms. That Second Amendment has not been abridged. There's no law that's been passed, nor should it be, that would in any way abridge or circumvent our right to keep and bear arms.
What's interesting in all these cases where you've got a shooter, a cowardly shooter attacking a group of people, they're almost always in what are called, quote-unquote, gun-free zones. Back in 1993, I was sitting in traffic waiting to turn into CIA headquarters. I was one light back. Miram Al-Khanzi opened fire at that traffic light on those employees turning into CIA headquarters. When they interviewed him, they asked him, "Why did you open fire on these folks? Why did you choose CIA?" He said, "My choices that morning were twofold. I could either attack the Israeli embassy or I could attack CIA headquarters. I chose CIA because I knew that the CIA officials driving in that morning would be unarmed."
Absolutely correct. How would you like to be a homeowner and a big sign, you just put a sign out in your front yard, "This is a gun-free zone." It's an open invitation for a vandal, a burglar, or a murderer to forcibly enter your home or to come in anytime, day or night, and kill and destroy. By the way, it's a very good biblical text in 2 Peter 5, 1, 2, and 3, where the Scripture charges the pastors, "Shepherd the flock of God that I've given you charge over." That word shepherd in the Greek text is a word poimanitate. That word poimanitate means to lead, to feed, to protect, to direct, to discipline, to correct. The pastor has the responsibility to lead, to feed, and to protect and direct his flock. He can't do it if it's a gun-free zone or if the philosophy is guns are bad, ought not to have them in church. Guns are not bad. It's the mind and the heart of the one holding the weapon that has the evil, wicked heart so often.
Well, I really appreciate your comments on this. When we come back, I want to play a clip of the president immediately after the shooting in Charleston and his comments, and get your reaction to that, because I think there's a lot more to this than what meets the eye in the media. You're listening to The Resistance. Forrest Wilson, our guest, Dr. Gene A. Youngblood. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Let's return to We the People with Forrest Wilson. Once again, here's Forrest.
The FBI is now on the scene with local police, and more of the Bureau's best are on the way to join them. The Attorney General has announced plans for the FBI to open a hate crime investigation. We understand that the suspect is in custody, and I'll let the best of law enforcement do its work to make sure that justice is served. Until the investigation is complete, I'm necessarily constrained in terms of talking about the details of the case. But I don't need to be constrained about the emotions that tragedies like this raise. I've had to make statements like this too many times. Communities like this have had to endure tragedies like this too many times. We don't have all the facts, but we do know that, once again, innocent people were killed in part because someone who wanted to inflict harm had no trouble getting their hands on a gun. Now's the time.
You can go ahead and you can end that clip. That was President Obama's comments following the shooting in Charleston, South Carolina. Dr. Youngblood, this is just more drivel from the left. Could you imagine if one of those people in that prayer vigil had been armed? That could have been stopped right there.
Absolutely, immediately. In fact, as you have noticed, even when we had the shooting, what was it, just a few years back at Sandy Hook, the school, the first thing Obama wanted to do was institute some law that would undermine and or curtail and or restrict our Second Amendment right. That is the General Saul Alinsky approach. That is generally the socialist communist approach. That is generally the approach that's used out of the Obama White House. And it is his approach ad nauseum without any, how would you say, provocation. He simply would like to see America disarmed. So I'm adamantly opposed to it. I counter his statements completely. It's not just a matter of a weapon. It's a matter of the fact that any weapon, at one time they were talking about the automatic weapons or the assault rifles, etc. The Obama administration would like to cut the Second Amendment completely out of our Bill of Rights, and I'm opposed to it.
Do you believe that this incident is part of a larger race war?
I do not. I think that we have a president would love to foment, churn, and develop one, along with the race baiters like Al Sharpton and others. And as a result of that, there are pockets of unrest and can easily be stirred by the outside agitators. You go to any of the places where we had racial unrest in the past year, 2 years in particular, and you'll find it's the race baiters and those coming in from out of state, out of town, that will churn the people and gin it up to make it look as though we have a race war. I don't buy into that at all. We have an intensification of the federal government wanting to come in and federalize and control our local police departments and control the people rather than it being on a states' rights issue with our founding fathers and the Federalist Papers that's giving the rights to the states and not to the federal government for our local law enforcement.
Well, I think the entire reaction that you pointed out earlier, the forgiveness of the family members to this cretin, has really thrown the race baiters off guard. There hasn't been any violence. In fact, the community seems to be coming together, all races. And, if an event like this happens, it can't be worse for the race baiters than what's happening right now.
Absolutely. That forecloses their having an open door to come in, and though they may try, it forecloses the possibility of them having success and getting a foothold in the community to divide the community based on ethnicity. I've not seen Al Sharpton jump on board. Now, he may tomorrow. but thus far he's not been able to counter with his race-baiting rhetoric what's taking place in Charleston with the God-fearing Christians that are made up of those families, both white and black, in Charleston, that says we're coming together, we're going to seek God, we're going to turn to God and allow our love, and based on our faith in God, let God handle the problem. And I'm thankful to see that.
Well, I am too. Dr. Gene A. Youngblood, I sure do appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate the comments, and I want to give folks your website because I think you're and how they can sign up for your email, because I think your insight into these issues is just outstanding. How can folks get in touch with your organization?
They can go to our main website for the university, which is www.conservative.edu, and go down to the contact and fill out a response giving us their email address, put them on their email, on our email list. By the way, in August, we have a Friday night and Saturday, a night and day seminar on church security. We'll be covering all of this in depth. It's designed for the layperson, for the pastor, and for the Christian leaders, not just in Jacksonville, but any place that's driving distance. That's in August. Conservative Theological University with the seminar, Church Security. And I'd love to have people inquire. We can send out the information to them. And again, that's www.conservative.edu, or just make a telephone call at 262-8275 and leave word with the receptionist you'd like to be put on the mail list or the newsletter list, and she will get the information.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Youngblood, thanks again, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You know, one thing's coming up at 9/11, and I want you to mark your calendar. It's the Benghazi Tribute. It's honoring those lost at Benghazi. It's Friday, September 11th, 2015, starting at about 7 o'clock. There's a 6 o'clock meet and greet. It's right here at the Salem Center Auditorium. You'll get to hear from the Citizens Commission on Benghazi, Admiral Ace Lyons, retired Rear Admiral Charles Kubik, and intelligence expert Claire Lopez. Mark your calendar. I hope you come out for this. Seating is limited. Check it out, though. 9/11, right here at the Salem Center, Benghazi Tribute. You're listening to Forrest Wilson and the Resistance. I'll be right back.
Let's return to We the People with Forrest Wilson. Once again, here's Forrest.
Okay, we're back. We're talking about this attack on the black church up there in Charleston, South Carolina. I've got a clip from one of the friends of the shooter, and it really is an interesting clip because it's, well, let's put it this way, it's different than the information that you're getting in the media. In fact, it's rather confusing. Jack, let's see if we can play the clip of one of Dylan's friends. Let's see. Christian Scriven.
Saying Confederate States of America.
No, that's not it. That's not it. Play clip 5. Try clip 5.
Was Dylan ignorant? Was he racist?
No. Like, everybody's making him out to be racist, but here I am in front of you today as a black man and telling you I look at him no different today than what I looked at him last week. Because he never said anything racist to me, never treated me any different than he treated Justin.
So you've got this friend of Dylan, this Christian Scriven, 22 years old, confirming that Dylan was not a racist. My question is this literally a hate crime, or is it just a shooting of innocent people in a church? And was this man compelled to shoot because he wanted to, quote unquote, make a statement? 904-222-TALK, 904-8255 if you want to chime in on this. There's also some reports coming in from the overseas, from, let's see, a British tabloid talking about Charleston killer planned to shoot up college campus instead of a church, claims black drinking buddy. That's the gentleman you just heard from on a BBC interview. So it appears that there's really a lot more going on than just potentially a hate crime here. This individual was definitely sick. Yeah, there ought to be a way to keep guns out of the hands of sick people, but how do you do it? Who do you know who's sick, and who's going to be the arbiter of who gets a gun and who does not? I think we've got to be very careful when we make comments like the president's comment that somehow this is gun violence. Look, this is violence, plain and simple. This man was hell-bent on killing some Americans, and he was going to take it out on whomever at whatever time of his choosing. The best thing that could have happened is what Dr. Youngblood was suggesting, and that is someone in that congregation having a weapon. You see, these folks will attack soft targets, whether it be a mall, people sitting at a traffic light waiting to turn into a government installation, places like Fort Hood. These cowards, they're not looking for a fight. They're looking to kill people, plain and simple. And I think that's what this individual was attempting to do. Now, the stunning part of all this, though, was really the reaction of the family members. He was brought before a magistrate there in Charleston, and the family members were allowed to confront this individual. And what happened next, not only is it heartbreaking, but it's a testament to the soundness of the individuals that were attacked. And online, you can go on YouTube, and I encourage you to. There's a YouTube video, Meet Clementa Pinckney, Pinckney. He was the South Carolina senator and pastor there at the Emmanuel AME Church. And to hear this man speak, I can understand why people were attracted to this church. This is just an upstanding American citizen, just amazing in his faith and his conviction. Just a testament to the AME Church and its members. But when these family members forgave this individual for what he did, it was hard to listen to. It was heartbreaking. I've got some more clips that I'm going to play for you. I just, when things like this happen, it's hard to really get it in your mind and make sense of it, to reconcile it, if you will. And it's just, it's painful to watch and read through. I just don't know what more to say about it. But I think it's very important that we exercise our Second Amendment right. I mean, look, an armed man or woman is a citizen. An unarmed man or woman is a subject. And if you're in a gun-free zone, chances are that if you're attacked, it's going to be by a criminal who's got a weapon. And I think we need to stand up to anyone in the political sphere that suggests somehow we need to limit the ownership of weapons and infringe upon the Second Amendment. Anyways, I want to talk to you about Father's Day coming up. Father's Day has an amazing history. And in case you didn't know what it was, I've got a little bit of information on it and the origin of Father's Day. This is a day that came about really at the turn of the last century. And the modern version of Father's Day celebration originated in the United States of America. And the world owes thanks to Miss Sonora Louise Smart Dodd. She was a loving daughter from Spokane, Washington. And because of her struggle, that Father's Day saw the light of day. She literally came up with the idea because of Mother's Day and a Mother's Day sermon that she was listening to in 1909. And at the age of 27, Sonora pondered, if there's a day to honor mother, then why not father? Sonora felt strongly for fathers because of the affection she received from her own father, Mr. William Jackson Smart, a Civil War veteran. Sonora's mother died while giving birth when she was just 16 years old. Mr. Smart raised the newborn Sonora and 5 other children with love and care. Anyways, it was 1972 during the Nixon administration when Father's Day was established with a permanent national observance, and it's held on the third Sunday of June, and tomorrow is Father's Day. I recommend that you give your dad a call and give him all the love and honor that he deserves. So we've got this tragedy going on and unfolding in South Carolina, and I want to play another clip. And again, this is Pastor E.W. Jackson from yesterday, I believe. And Jack, play clip number 6.
If someone comes in to hurt my church members, I have an absolute obligation to defend them, to protect them.
So he's advocating that pastors have an obligation to protect their congregation. I couldn't agree with him more, and I'm interested in what you have to say about it. 904-222-TALK, 904-222-8255. I've got a caller, George, I want to bring in. George, welcome to the Resistance. How are you?
Pretty good. All right. Yes, I agree with you on arming people within the church. I just wanted to ask this question. What are the two major groups in the world who want to destroy both Christianity and the United States?
It'd have to be ISIS and certain followers of Islam. Not all followers, but certain.
It would be the Islamofascists who read the latter parts of the Quran, which say kill us. The first parts are fairly peaceful. The latter parts are from the Medina city period. That's number one. Number two, the Stalinist, the socialist communist. They both groups want to destroy Christianity. And in your opinion, would both groups do anything possible to destroy Christianity in the United States and use any method possible?
Well, I definitely think the Islamofascists would, but I'm not so sure about the communists because I believe that certain elements within our government have already been overthrown by the socialist communists. I call them the bureaucratic despots. Which are probably worse than socialists or communists.
Well,
but
I'm referring to the leftovers in the Soviet Union who are selling technology to the Iranians. There's a very close relationship.
Well, there's no doubt.
They're the ones who've been pushing fascist socialism all over the world, in country after country like Venezuela, Argentina, England, the United States. They would do anything to push forward their goals.
Well, let me ask you this. So they're going to use, in this case, Iran, who you're referring to, I believe, as the proxy to attack the United States, largely a Christian nation, regardless of what the administration believes. And that's what you believe, is that the Soviets are assisting Iran.
And in the past, they have used biological weapons, radiological weapons, anything they could get their hands on.
Well, I think that you may be onto something, because it appears that our government is doing everything they can to facilitate some type of agreement with Iran to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon, all the while allowing them to continue with their centrifuges and, basically acquiring the tools to build a nuclear weapon. And
multiple relatives have held extremely high security clearances. I've worked in 12 countries, and I've been told things by foreign nationals. And there are five things that cause disease, both mental and physical. And there are five things that are used in warfare, and those are radioactive molecules that are big. They don't fit into enzymes, et cetera, correctly, and they mess up your body. Number two is pathogens, biological weapons like Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever over there in the area of major conflict. The third is chemicals. The fourth is physical damage like warfare, in other words, car accidents, bullets, bombs. And the fifth is radiological warfare, which can come from both radioactive atoms or from radio type systems that are very specialized, and they have been using all 5 for approximately 80 years to conquer country after country like Venezuela.
Well, George, I think they've got a long way to go here in the United States, but I think this agreement allowing them to continue with the acquiring the ability to build a nuclear weapon is probably one of the most dangerous things facing us right now. And I think if
that's the overt dangerous thing. However, understand that the Stalinists put schools in place to train people from Mexico and many other places to come in this country quietly and do things that will lead to the destruction of the United States. And look at the debt, and look at Congress not taking proper actions. They're already fried. These people are a bunch of zombies.
They're doing a good job. They really are. I have to hand it to them. But I think that the American people have yet to have a say in all of this. And when they do, I wouldn't count the American people out.
Well, I think they're waking up, but we need to continue doing what you're doing. Wake them up.
George, I appreciate the call. Thank you for tuning in. You've listened to The Resistance. I hope you'll join us. Again, the Benghazi tribute on 9/11. You'll hear the story on Benghazi as only the Citizens Commission on Benghazi can tell it. Please mark your calendar. You're listening to The Resistance. Forrest Wilson. I hope you'll tune in next week. Thank you so much.